Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us here. My name is Timo, and I'm a radio producer, voiceover artist, imager, programmer. Well, sometimes a director of things I don't understand, but of course, directing. And I'm here with a guy who I've seen for quite some time in the line of radio. We met, of course, on a job, and he came through. And he's been a wonderful person. So today we want to discuss, since we have been together for some time already, so I want to discuss what we know best, radio. Before we got onto the camera, what did you say radio was?
A radio is ideally, it's the receiving and sending of electromagnetic waves over a frequency. That's just radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm with Ambrose, and what do you term yourself as?
Okay. When someone asks you what you term yourself as, you're supposed to go by what is written in the books. But I'm a guy who loves...
You're written... Ambrose. So they wrote about you in a book somewhere. What they term people as is what you mean.
Yes, what they term people as. But I'm a guy who is passionate about radio. I like putting words together to create sentences, and sentences to create paragraphs. So I've done a bit of copywriting, or I still do as well. And today, for at least a year or two, I'm into advertising.
Advertising is one thing that most people or most radio presenters think, and even the listeners think is disruptive when it comes to listening to what they love, and presenters think it takes a bit of their time if they're working on something and then the adverts pop up. What they don't understand, that it's why they are paid.
Yes.
I am wondering why most bosses, PDs, producers don't let these guys know that we need to make some money. I've heard someone say, in the past most of the presenters, more so the Luganda, or what do they, Luganda or traditional presenters would say, Katugende Bakababafe, meaning that let's go and, make some money.
Yes.
So people don't understand why, and let's start with why adverts should be played on radio, or what keeps radio flowing.
Yes, number one, the adverts are business. But before they become business, the adverts are a message by an advertiser, whoever intends to send a message out there as communication. That's how they are doing it. Right? And then for the radio, it's revenue. I mean, no one's going to give you money for playing music. If anything, you're the one supposed to pay people for playing their music.
But I heard that people, abroad in outside countries, are playing their music. A radio station playing music is paid. How is it? The artists are paid.
Yes.
Oh, not the radio station.
No, it's the artists that are supposed to be paid, because that's their patent, that's their product, that's what they are selling. So the radio is supposed to give you money to pay you for playing your music to keep their audiences hooked. But no.
That means the system has to be really upright to do such.
There have been these conversations for way long, and I remember some of the ways the radios at times react is by saying, we can play Congolese, we can play Niger, we can play Nigerian, if you want to make noise about your music, we can be without your music. But that's not the thing.
When you wake up in the early morning and then you find your favorite radio station that was playing really Ugandan songs. In the overnight, it is playing Congo, Nigeria, South Africa. What would happen? Well, let's say Galaxy FM. It's known for playing a lot of Ugandan music, or probably like 90% of Ugandan music. And most of the artists think, if Galaxy is not playing your music, most of the youths, they think, your song is not that good. Now, if Galaxy wakes up today or tomorrow and then say, we're tired of playing the Ugandan music, what happens? Does another station, tag along? Or?
I think we're just imagining this. But if it happened, then for starters, I think someone might see the gap. Because from what I heard, Galaxy bridged some gap in between. There were English stations and there were Uganda stations. So they came and took the gap in between about 10 years ago. Galaxy 11. So they said, okay, fine. We know this side we are playing Westlife and whoever is coming from the UK and the US. This side someone is playing what was Uganda music back in the day, and then they bridge that gap. So I think what would happen is would maybe wake up and get a new player in the market, or that would be a protest enough for us to say, okay, guys, let's sit down and have a conversation. Like, you as an artist, what are you looking for? As a label, what are you looking for? As a radio, what are you looking for? Who does what? And I wish there was a way we had that conversation before we got there, because it's important.
This conversation, first of all, to just, keep you up to speed. We are really speaking about radio, things that happen on radio. And we know there are people out there that are interested in the real radio. I always say real radio.
Real radio, yes.
Because I hate the fact that, first of all, radio is moving away from the realness it had before. Why you listen to some voice on radio that is not making any sense to you is because they don't care anymore about the real radio. In the past you would listen. There's so many people that had great voices on radio.
Yes.
There are less people right now that have radio voices.
Yes.
But they are broadcasters. They just go on there and then they do broadcast. Why? They are trendy.
Yeah, they bring the numbers.
They have
the numbers from the socials.
But they don't bring the professionalism of the art of the real radio. Because I think in the past, your interview for radio, before your brains really gave you up, would be you talk to a guy like, hello, how are you? He'd say, I'm fine, how are you doing? So that guy has a real, real nice voice.
Yes.
Literally, just speak and the character took over.
Because, see, the setup, where we have grown up to, like in the morning shows, we knew we had the voice of reason, we had a comic in between, and maybe a little bit of inclusivity, maybe a lady or a girl. So we ended up somewhere where it didn't matter anymore whether it's the voice. Just have someone.
I am imagining what will happen, say like 10 years from now. Because even the new radio stations that are coming up, they are doing the same mistake of taking what is trendy than what's professional. Now, what happens is, it's like you're building a football, team. Then you don't bring in people that look like, and then you bring in basketballers. What happens is your team is going to fail because it doesn't have the tradition of football.
Yeah.
So by the time you realize, then you start looking for professionals. Your brand has already been spread as a brand of really people that are just like that.
I don't mean to mention names, but there are few radios, and maybe we can talk a bit about TV, that have closed in the recent past. And when you ask some of the reasons, truthfully, someone will tell you at some point they didn't know what they were doing or what they were known for.
There's a radio station
all over the place. Yes,
I know. When it came to the airwaves, it was so youthful.
Yeah.
5 years down the road, I think because things changed a bit, it started blending between being youthful and oldful. So it lost touch.
Yes.
So when people grew with the station, I think by that time it brought in people of 25, 24. Yes. So the people go to 30, 35. So now the people, age really caught up, and they had to really sound like how old they were. They stopped caring about, what we liked about them when the radio station was starting. So we ended up not, because the music, first of all, changed.
Yeah.
Even the studio, the way it was looking before, it was fancy before, but now you can't keep a studio 10 years looking the same.
No. Unless you're chosen to be an old-timer.
Like putting on the same clothes every time. There's no freshness in it. The sweepers. And the worst mistake they did, there was a very good voiceover for that radio, a voice that would have stayed for some time. They split. They first of all, they put in another voiceover.
Okay.
That didn't have that touch. Looked like any other radio station. And after they put in a voiceover artist who sounded to me like older than the station. And then they brought in a presenter when they were about to close. The morning show had, first of all, a presenter that was mentored in the old way of voicing, of presenting. Then another presenter was like 46, 45. Then another one was in 35. So the issues that they would definitely think about were now, we are tired.
Even the way you say what you have to say or what you want to say, some of these things are factual, even if they were beyond radio. If you're of a certain age, there's the way you behave, there's the way you reason. Unless your essays on too. But the way you say your things is someone will tell, this guy is out of touch. You know how let me give you an example. There was a talent search show by a certain TV in Uganda here. So they went somewhere, I think in Masaka, on one of the auditions. So a young man steps up to the stage and says, njala kuyimba, okitegeera. So the judge said, mutabani, toddangamu mulundi n'ogu, n'ogamba omuntu nti okitegeera. So that was a generational gap.
That is not really harmful. It's like, do you understand?
Do you understand what I mean? Nah, I mean, you know what I mean? Something like that.
Yeah.
It's basic. But if you are my granddad's age, you'd be like, this boy is disrespectful. Yeah, so the presenters that you have on air say a lot about the station you're running.
No. Not the presenters. I think even the management.
Yes.
Because what we see on air, really, not necessarily because of the behavior, but really says the way the management thinks about everything. If you see, because if they bring, who is management, who is the PD of such and such a radio station, and they come out, most cases they look like what they do.
Yes, on air, right away.
Some really hide it. But they bring in, you really feel, this should be the PD here. Whenever it looks like there's no connection of that team.
Yes.
Like you see how Pep Guardiola looks like.
Yeah.
He really looks like Man City.
Yeah, he does.
The only person that doesn't look like
their club.
Should be like
say it.
Who's this guy that has just won the UEFA Champions League? Ancelotti.
Carlo Ancelotti.
But the behavior is Madrid.
Yes.
You know that case that he, has a girlfriend who is still young now, because in the stands and then kisses the girlfriend. The behavior of your manager really tells how you should behave.
Yes.
Because if the manager is always into, doesn't think like you, there's no way they are going to tell you to think the way, or doesn't think like the brand.
Yes. For starters, they are the face. They are the custodian of the culture, of the institution, of the radio, of the club, of the organization.
But now in Uganda, what happens if let me mention the name, like how XFM sounded like. Now you have a station like XFM. Okay, no, forget about XFM.
Okay.
What was that radio station? Hot 100.
Yes.
This is a radio not for you, but not for your mama.
Not for your mama, yeah.
I'm just imagining, was it Mackenzie the PD or who was it?
Yeah, Mackenzie. I think still shows on his LinkedIn.
But
no, he was. He still shows even on his LinkedIn. Yeah.
He really, because, man, you could listen to Hot 100 and you'll be like, okay, if I'm not interested about hip hop, R&B, and urbanness,
yes,
let me let it go. Let me let the radio station flow. But of course, the time reached when they wanted to be, like some of the radio stations that were demeaning Okay? We are the only urban radio station. We in DG, not for your mama. Then they started, of course, bringing in Rocky Giant.
Okay.
Hakuna Muchezo. You remember those songs?
I do.
So the brand starts, because of the change, there was GNL by then, who sounded urban and would appeal to downtown. But they didn't leave out Rocky Giant still.
I at times don't buy the argument that let's use as many examples as we can. When it comes to music, there are times when people say music and comedy, here in Kampala or in Uganda. I don't buy the argument when people say it's what the people are asking for. It's what the audiences are asking for. Usually, do what the audience has asked for. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years later, look back. You're all over the place and you're lost.
So you want to tell me that most successful radio stations are doing what the audience is not asking them for?
If we would put that question to people who would keep arguing, that's what people are asking for. That's what is on the street. That's what is trendy. That's what everyone is doing. The moment you say that's what everyone is doing, there's a radio here in Kampala that has a music policy that is way repetitive. You can predict the next song.
Yeah.
And for years, everyone has said, I know the song that plays next.
Lately, it is playing Bebe Cool's... what song is it for Bebe Cool? The one he shot in America. The latest song, and then Zuli Time's latest song also is on replay every time. That's the policy it has been on for the last 25 years.
They will go pick a hit song. I don't think they're always comfortable making hit songs. They want hit songs if they're out there as hit songs. And I don't know, the figures should be 3 or 4 songs they add to their playlist, and that's it. What I'm trying to say is, you might say it's too repetitive, like it's boring. Like, how can we keep listening to the same music all the time? But then somehow you accept them for who they are. That's who they are. So you and I can choose to listen to them and deal with that. Someone else will say, the last time I heard there's this type of music, let's go for it. It's not like what Galaxy does, maybe, that I know names of artists that we can argue that Galaxy has brought up in a way. Because when everyone was telling them, go and change something in your song, Galaxy said, please come home. And I'm comfortable to say they are the rulers of the industry now. Today, the artists that the radio brought up. And that's who Galaxy is known for. That's who Capital is known for. That's who Hot 100 was known for. The moment you wake up and say, you and I have had a conversation, I think like 6-7 years ago. No, it should be like 6. When we talked about a radio that catered for many communities and languages. So you wake up from this time to this time, you're broadcasting for these people. The next 2 hours for these people. The next 2 hours, you are all over the place. Who are your people?
The presenters before would have some things like this. They would have intros like, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Mambo VP, Mbaramusea, Mbawateba, Mwasuzemutia. Yes. Like 7 languages in there to bring. I thought they were working on a unity of, the places they work in. Because there's some places that are really funny. Like, say if you're in Bali, there's Musoga, there's Mugisu, there's Mugwere,
there's Msamia, there's Munyore.
How do you bring those people together, and what language brings them together?
Okay, so instead you'd rather you do the programming that has all those languages all together.
There has to be a main language for the station, and then the other languages really. I think they should happen over the weekend, probably. But there should be a main... There's a main reason a radio station, say in Bali, must first of all care about the people
of Bali. Because they are licensed for those people, for that community, for that proximity.
And then there's also a language that connects most people. Here, should be English, or second to English is Luganda.
Yes.
So either bringing that language, you instead of bringing in other languages that are, a lot. Bring in English, bring Lugisu of Mbale,
Yes.
and bring Luganda. That will connect Amusoga, Mugwele, Munyole, all of them will understand, or even Bagishu. So you have Luganda as your English.
Yes.
Then the traditional language is Lugisu. But some bosses say otherwise. They say, I have to take, to do something like this, which I feel it. Anyway, at the back of your mind, if you're going to manage the radio station, first of all, you need to read the vision.
Yeah.
What is it? Vision and
mission.
Vision and mission.
Yes.
Now, I've known so many radio stations that don't have such. When you really see them, you only listen to the vision on radio. It's not written somewhere.
It's not.
Yeah, but because they always tell it to the people that are inside, but most of the companies, you find the vision and then, the mission.
Timo, in what I do for a living now, my 8 to 5, I have come to learn a couple of things. And to start with is why some radio stations are established, why they're on air. And I've come to learn that while you're thinking about the connection between management, programs director, the boss, the money bags, at times the reasons why some stations are established are very, very, very strange. Like a politician starts a radio station, they have the money, they want to use it to talk to the people and get voted. So when they are elected to office in 2021, now these 5 years, it's up to you, if you're PD there, to figure out how else the station will run. So there's an AK nephew who will come around. He loves sports. They're like, you do sports.
There's also a time when, some radio stations, most of those that are for the politicians, they will definitely call the PD that, what program is on now? No, I don't like it. Please, can you put in just put in the recording we had with so and so.
Yes.
It is important to the people. I have heard some people here say that it is nice. Instead of putting those people, no, actually, I don't want to see those people anymore.
At my station.
So the PD, the manager, is always fidgeting to find who is next, because the boss's involvement goes that deep of tracking someone off.
Then the level of investment beyond the transmitter and the receivers and the studio microphones and all this equipment. At times you talked about the imaging, the jingles, the sweepers.
That's a long journey in that.
How everyone is comfortable saying, I'll pick the bill of the news editor, I'll pick the bill of the generator and the internet, and then you tell them, because when you image the radio, you do this passionately.
There are so many people that have reached out. We want to do our, imaging and so when you send them the budget, like, you guy, that's expensive. I'm like, if it was that cheap, I think you would have had lots, of imaging to pick from. Like, since it is cheap, let me buy a lot. So, but since you don't have, that shows you already how expensive it is. Why are you even looking for me? If it was that cheap.
Budgets.
The managers, the most business appropriators that, open up radio stations have most, actually, like 90%.
Yeah.
As you said, some of them politicians.
Yes.
Some of them
religious institutions.
Yeah. And most of them they should, I think every boss who owns a radio station should just take classes for how radio stations must be run. Media, they should take a course in journalism. So they be passionate.
The rich people, the money bags.
Yes. Yeah. Because they make decisions that really fail. And they don't, because they are learning on the job.
Yeah.
Now, their problem is they are telling a professional with experience things that are not possible. But because, they are the money bags, I'll have to do it their way.
Yeah.
So I think every manager, every owner of a radio station should just take a course, even if it is 6 months, how to manage a media station.
Yes.
How to become, journalism and all that, so that they come from a perspective of somebody who knows what media is. Yes. But even then, when say a PD and a manager who stays with these people most times, all the experience and all that hands-on, sometimes they see things from the other angle that you don't see, because you're coming from a critique, from a side, from an angle of a critique. So you would come on radio station, I've had something that is not bad. Have you done some research and known if people like it that way? Sometimes, like I always say this, I used to listen to Galaxy and I'll be like, what's that? I think I used to tell you,
yes,
some things need to change. Well, some things changed, but I realized that some of the things I hated about them, they were the most important things that people loved about them.
That's an irony, yeah.
Because I was from away, and then that should change, man. So the radio business has so many investors that don't understand the business. One of the stations that closed, I think, STV, is because
this was a rich man.
The rich man woke up, and all he wanted, first of all, his wedding was on TV, live broadcast.
Yes.
But after the wedding, I think, it lost sense of what he would cover up next. So they are not passionate. They don't care if someone is, they don't know when, they don't even know that sometimes now for like producers, it takes you to be in a good mood to produce something nice.
Yes. The same thing with creating and writing and what. You can say, 5 minutes, give me something. I might give it to you actually. You can produce it. But then there's a day you won't.
Yeah, you can even tell me. And what you've told me will throw me in a mood of giving it to you next week.
Yeah, true.
I don't know. Let me think about it, and then I'll think for a whole week. Anyways, these conversations don't stop here. We'll definitely come back, more often with Ambrose to discuss about radio. In the comment section below, you will definitely tell us what you really want us to discuss about and what you want to know about radio. This is like now an introduction about the conversations we'll be having more and more times, so that we see probably someone out there will be helped, or manager, or presenter, or anywhere. We're at the Rika Brand House, and of course, we definitely deal in audio, ads, visual, TVCs. We mentor people for being, producers, presenters, and most importantly, good voiceovers. My name is Timo, and my guy here is called Ambrose. We'll be back some other time.